Hello everyone, my name is Nina, I'm 28 years old and I've just moved across the world to the UK from Australia, and I thought I would share my experience with you guys. If you're new here, I moved out to the UK at the end of November and I've lived in Perth, Australia my whole life, so this is a very new thing for me. Today I thought I would share my experience as well as things that I've learned over the last couple of months being here. This is literally just my personal experience and also just some things that I wish I had done differently. So I'm going to tell you guys what the plan was, and then I'm going to tell you how it worked out and things I would have done differently based on how much of a fail the plan actually was. My partner does very specialised work, and his work is very much throughout the year, and then they have a big break over Christmas. The idea about moving in November was that his work had finished up for the year. He really wanted to round out the year with where he was working at the time. And I also wanted to have a winter Christmas because I've never had a winter Christmas before. And we also kind of just thought, the more time that we have to look for a job, especially for him to look for a job in his field before the new year started, the better it would be, or the easier it would be. This was wrong. Every field is going to be different. It really depends on what kind of field you work in. If you work in any kind of field that has a break over Christmas, I don't think November or December is the best time to move. So the plan was move over. We didn't know exactly what area of the UK we wanted to live in. I knew I wanted to be near London, and he couldn't really be in central London because of his work. So the idea was to move over, him finding a job, that would determine exactly what area we would be in, and then finding a flat in that area, and then me finding temporary work as well to bring in some money in that area. So we booked an Airbnb for the first month that we were here. It got to the end of our booking for the Airbnb and nothing had come up yet, and the main reason was because people were rounding up for Christmas. They were finishing up the last jobs that they had to get done before the end of the year, and recruiting and hiring wasn't high on the priority list for this area that he worked in at this time of year, because they're literally just trying to get through and make it to Christmas essentially. And then everything closed from mid to late December before Christmas until some places didn't open until mid-January. So everything was closed for a good 2 or 3 weeks. And during that 2 or 3 week period, it was really difficult. Obviously, he wasn't hearing anything back because everything was closed. We were kind of in a standstill. It was really hard time, to be honest. After this Airbnb booking, which we had extended until the 22nd of December, so we ended up staying at this Airbnb for about 5 or 6 weeks. A friend who had moved out here before us was going away on holiday with his family over Christmas and New Year's, so he very generously offered for us to stay at his house while he was away. So that was the next point that we moved to, and it also saved us a bit of money being free accommodation over Christmas and New Year's especially. We were spending a lot of money on booking more accommodation in other places. We were staying in a few travel lodges, and it got to a point where we were like, okay, we need to stop spending money on accommodation. It's getting too expensive. We're burning through our savings. My partner decided to become self-employed and do some contracting work as well for this year that we've just started. We could finally pick an area after he decided that. And this is kind of when it started to get really rough, and this is already more than a month into being here. So looking for a flat was really difficult to do when he hadn't started working yet, I hadn't started working yet. So essentially we're both unemployed. No one wants to rent their house or their flat to someone who is unemployed. Obviously, I understand that completely. But yeah, it was very difficult for us to find a flat. We were jumping from travel lodge to travel lodge in the area that we wanted to stay in so that we could be close by to do flat viewings. But a lot of real estates would just not even take our application because neither of us had a job. We're very fortunate enough to have a guarantor. My partner's family, some of his family lives in the UK, so we were able to get a guarantor for a flat, and we also offered up 6 months of rent up front. But still, some real estates wouldn't even take this. You had to have a full-time job, and that was the deal breaker. We did find that a lot of private, small landlords who only owned 1 or 2 houses or 1 or 2 flats, or had turned their house into 3 or 4 flats, were the ones that weren't going to rent to us. And we found that if you looked more into apartment buildings, like big complexes that were owned by big companies, all the tenancy situations were taken over by third parties that were not really involved with the landlord, and they just wanted to get people in the flat, so they were not bothered about having a guarantor or if you offered up 6 months to pay in advance. And just a little side note here as well, in the UK, it's illegal for a landlord to ask you to pay more than, I think, 5 weeks up front in rent, but you can offer to pay months up in advance if you really want the flat. So they can't ask it, but you can offer it. So again, we were really lucky with a guarantor and we were able to secure a flat finally, but it did take us a good 2 months. So here comes the tips that I've kind of compiled over the last few weeks of things that I wish I had done differently. The first one, as you can probably guess, is the time of year that we had moved over. We moved over, like I said, end of November. I mean, again, it depends on the field that you want to work in, but it really is a time that people start to wrap up for Christmas and businesses start to close down, and their priorities aren't hiring someone. Their priorities are just getting their tasks done to make it to Christmas, essentially. So I think that January or February is probably a better time to move over. I also do know that August is a really bad time to move over because a lot of recent graduates are looking for work as well. So like I would assume July, August, September is all kind of a bad time to move over as well. From my personal experience moving over at the end of November, it was really not a good idea and I wouldn't recommend it. Unless you want to do like Christmas work or working like throughout the holidays, like seasonal kind of work, then it might be good. Although you might want to go more like mid to start November. That was my idea. Like I was going to work like over Christmas as like a Christmas seasonal job. Honestly, if I'd known that we were going to be in the area that we were in at the Airbnb for 6 weeks, I probably would have got work. We'd only booked it for like 3 weeks to start with, and I really didn't think it was going to take that long. This leads me into the second thing. Things will take longer than you think. They just will. So I thought we would be in a flat before Christmas, like well before Christmas. Within like a month, I thought we would both have jobs and in a flat. But we only moved into our flat on the 14th of January. But also like the smaller things as well. It's not so much the big things of finally getting settled. Okay, it took 2 months to get settled. It's also like the job hunting process. And even if you apply for a job, go to the interview, there might be a second interview or third interview. It can take weeks even just to like get through to one job. But again, it really depends on what kind of field you want to work in. The only situation where I've seen things not take as long is when the company that you work for in the country that you're currently in offers you a transfer, or you're able to get a transfer to the new country with that same company. It becomes a lot easier. You've got a job lined up, you just need to find a flat, and that might just take you a couple weeks. A little side note on this as well, when you are looking for specialised work, it takes a long time. Like I've seen a lot of stories of other people trying to find specialised work, and it really, really does take a while. Unless you're willing to work in like hospitality or retail or something like that while you look for your corporate role or your specialised role. This leads me into the third point. You really do need savings. So if you estimate how much savings you might need to move, I would probably double it. I'm not even kidding. This has been one of the most expensive things that we've done. And the biggest thing that ate up our money was accommodation. And then after that, it was like bond deposit, rent deposit. We bought a car, so that was really expensive. That might not be necessarily something that you need to do, but we needed to buy a car. I have a lot extra than what you need, and you might not spend it. You really might not. But to give you an idea, I'm avoiding adding up how much we've actually spent since moving over here. I really don't want to know the number, to be honest, but I do know that it's 5 digits. It's well over 5 digits. And like I said already, unless you already have a job lined up before you move, that's like the best case scenario. If you have that, then you don't need to stress too much. But if you don't, you're just going to be burning through money like there's no tomorrow. Just something to add on that point though, is that yes, it's stressful and yes, you're going to be spending a lot of money, but you need to remember the reasons that you're doing this. And that reason, or those reasons, need to be worth you spending this much money, and also worth all the stress. Whether you're moving over for travel or for a job or just a better lifestyle, you have to remember that it's worth it. Every time you spend another $1,000, it's worth it. or 1,000 pounds, it's worth it. And just as long as like you keep remembering why you're doing it and how much you want to do it and how much the reasons are worth it to you, then it's bearable. It's okay. For me personally, moving was something that I knew that I would regret not doing. But if I moved over and it completely failed, ended up home way earlier than I thought I would be, I would never regret doing it, even if it was a complete disaster. Okay, number 4 is about what you're going to bring over. Now, we brought over 2 30-kilo suitcases, a duffel bag each, and a backpack each. You will not fit everything that you want to bring over in these bags. Let me guarantee you right now, there are going to be things that you're going to have to cull like crazy. But my biggest piece of advice for what you bring over is if there are things that you really want to take with you, but are not necessarily needs, or for example, they're summer clothes and you're moving over at winter, don't pack them with you at the time. What I did was I packed a suitcase of, or you could pack boxes even, or multiple suitcases, for all the things that I wanted to have over here with me, but are not urgent things, for example, summer clothes. So I packed a suitcase and I've left it with my mum. You could leave it with a family member, a friend, anyone that you might know. And when you've gotten settled in, got an address that's more permanent, built up your savings even if you want to, you can then organise for that bag or that box to be shipped over. So that's what I plan on doing. I do have a suitcase with my mum, and when we've started building our savings a little bit more, I'm going to have it shipped over. There are some airlines who do offer like decent amount of baggage that you can take with you. I think there's one that offers you like 2 23-kilo bags, which is pretty good. But this other suitcase that I have back at home is 40 kilos. So it was still too much anyway. And I did find that with the particular airline that we went with, it was a lot more expensive to add a bag than it was to ship a bag over. I'm personally going with a company called Send My Bag. It's not sponsored or anything. Alright, it was stuck for a while. Moving to a different country, it's gonna stuck for a while. Even if you hated your home, hated your life over there, like hated everything about it and was desperate to get out, you're still gonna be homesick. You're still gonna miss things that you took advantage of when you were over there, like some foods or even products that you were using that you can't get in your new place. And honestly, you may even miss things that you hated when you were there. I've caught myself missing some things that I'm like, I hated this, but I just miss seeing it around. I'm personally still in this phase. Like I said, it's been 2 months, and I think it does take a good 6 months to a year to start to be less homesick, but it definitely does suck. Like, it will suck. But again, you just got to remember the reasons that you're doing it, and you just got to tough it out. And you do have to give it at least a year, I believe, before you pack it in. Just be prepared for it. Don't think like you're going to move, it's going to be the most amazing thing ever, and immediately you're going to be doing all these cool things and all the things that you planned. It's a slow progress. There's still going to be so many times where you're like, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I can't believe I've just done this. Like, what? All the time I'm like, what the heck am I doing in the UK? Like, I'm in the UK. What am I doing here? My last point is that things will be uncomfortable. I went from living in a house that I built myself in Australia. It was a double-story townhouse, 4 bedrooms. I picked the layout, I picked the colours, I bought the furniture I wanted. I lived with me and my partner for 4 years in that house, very independently. I went from that to moving 7 times in 2 months while we tried to find our feet in a new country. Living out of suitcases, sleeping on blow-up mattresses, using other people's showers. It's a very uncomfortable experience. I mean, depends what experience you have, you know, and where you're currently living and what the situation is. But for me personally, I was very comfortable, and this made me very, very uncomfortable. It got to a point towards the end where I was literally just briefly opening my suitcase to get out a new set of clothes, and then closing it again, and I'd literally just forgotten what I'd even packed with me. I recently unpacked all my luggage finally. I actually filmed it if you want to see. When I unpacked, I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot I brought this with me, and I brought this with me. Like, there's so many things that I brought with me that I just completely forgot that I had brought. I mean, like I said, it was Airbnbs, it was friends' houses, it was travel lodges. It got to a point at the end when we finally signed the lease for this flat. It was going to take 7 working days for this flat to be ready. Like I said, things take longer than you think. And we just wanted to save some money, so we ended up staying with my partner's mum, who was 4 hours away. We were just jumping from place to place. It was very, very unsettling, very, very uncomfortable. And if we're very used to home comforts and being comfortable in your area and having your safe space, that just all gets thrown out the window. It kind of also made me realize how much I could survive with the bare minimum and how much I really didn't need a lot of things. And while it was really uncomfortable moving around so much, it made me appreciate the things that I took for granted before. Like even small things like having my own bathroom or being able to make a homemade meal. I really, really didn't appreciate those things before, and now I appreciate them so much. So my last point is, you will live uncomfortably for a while. Even if you get a flat really quickly, you will live uncomfortably for a while, but it's not forever. If you would like me to go into more detail on any of these points, like more specifics around how I found a rental, any of the other things I had said, please leave a comment down below and let me know. Thanks so much for listening, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I've noticed a little bit of growth on my channel recently, so if you are new here, welcome and thank you for subscribing. Please subscribe if you haven't already if you'd like to see my journey, and I will see you on the next one.